Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar sponsored by Ottimate. My name is Bill Wilson, and I'll be your host for today's session titled How Leading Grocers Automate Accounts Payable, featuring Estevez Markets. First, I'll cover some quick housekeeping items. If you experience difficulties with audio or advancing slides, refresh your screen with F5. If you are experiencing other issues, hit the question mark button to receive assistance. At any time during the presentation, submit your questions into the Q&A window on the left-hand side of your screen. Please refer to the reaction widget down below and feel free to share your reactions during the presentation today. In 24 hours, you'll receive a link to watch the recording of this session. Now, I would like to introduce our panel of speakers today. Robin Estevez, who is the owner of Estevez Markets, and Don Dittmar. He is the Vice President, Head of Product at Ottimate. Don, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate the introduction, and thanks everyone for joining us today. Thanks, Robin, for being here. Looking forward to a good session. Basically, conversation today. Myself and Robin really looking to showcase their story. I wanted to set the stage before we get into the chat between Robin and I about just what AP automation is and what it means for us here at Ottimate and how we're bringing that technology to customers like Estevez Markets. So there's just kind of the dictionary definition of it. AP automation is the process of using technology and today AI to streamline and automate tasks within the accounts payable process, such as invoice processing, approval workflows, payments, instead of relying on manual methods. And that's probably pretty obvious to most of the attendees. And this phase or this generation of AP automation has been around for probably more than a decade, definitely maybe even 2 decades. But at Ottimate, we're bringing AI to that, as I mentioned before, and really our focus is to transition that automation as a foundation to an AI agent that really maximizes profit through smart AP. So Ottimate is your AI copilot for driving profitability, optimizing cash flow through intelligent AP automation. So of course, we've got the base layers, the workflows, the intelligent capture, the document recognition. We've added a whole AI intelligence layer to take that to the next level, so that you can use Ottimate really as your broker to drive profitability and cost management through your AP solution. So a couple of the challenges that we solve, here at Ottimate: time consuming and inaccurate invoice digitization, unable to catch discrepancies both in pricing and on the invoice itself, consolidating matching purchase orders, maybe missed deadlines or missed SLAs, payment deadlines that might interrupt your flow of inventory or goods as you're processing those payments, fraudulent, incorrect invoices. There's a report that fraudulent invoices have gone up something like 40% since it's so easy to generate fraudulent invoices with AI now these days. Inaccurate, unclear methods of tracking pricing, matching it to your catalogs. Payments are manual, check runs, time consuming, and locating, auditing, creating, follow-up records, anything you have to do after the fact. So, common core challenges at the automation level. But what Ottimate likes to add to that is not just the automation for the workflow itself. We commonly talk about how do we get our vendors paid and how do we get checks out the door, how do we get invoice processed. But Ottimate takes that baseline automation that we've done for years and we add line level coding. So we're looking at the way your users code invoices and then learning from that so that we can do it. We have AI focused on cost discrepancies, so we can match what's coming in through your invoice flow to your price catalogs that you have from your vendors, and we can determine they've overbilled you on this, or maybe they haven't delivered on their SLA. We can catch those kinds of things using our AI. We're of course matching 2 or 3 way based on your workflows, whether you issue POs or you match to a catalog or you do kind of a direct store delivery method. We can handle all of those workflows. Customizable workflows, payment options, ACH, check, virtual cards. I mentioned those price fluctuations, granular control of payments, and then really just adding the AI element to every bit of it. So if you want to automate your approvals, automate your PO matching, validate tax even maybe in the future, we can do all those things with our AI core engine, so that we're adding not only the automation value, but the intelligence value on top of that, the cost recognition, so that we can again drive profitability through Ottimate's AP AI. So that's an overview of both what we do and who we are at a very brief level. But I want to spend most of our time today chatting with Robin Estevez, who's the owner of Estevez Markets, one of our exciting customers that we've worked with for quite a while now. I've talked to her. I haven't had the pleasure of meeting Robin in person. I hope to at some point, but we chat a fair amount on both roadmap and his solution and how they're expanding it at Estevez Markets. So, Robin, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today.
Thank you for having me. I really
Sure. Let's jump right in. Some of these things are exactly that I spoke about with our AI and automation are exactly why, we feel like Estevez chose to go with Ottimate to make this change. So can you just kick us off, Robin, by, tell us a little bit more about Estevez Markets and what ultimately pushed you to look at AP automation in the first place?
Yeah, so my name is Robin Estevez, and I, alongside my brothers, John and Billy, we own and operate 10 stores throughout New York and New Jersey under the Food Town and Greenway banner. And our story is simple. Our father immigrated from the Dominican Republic and found the American dream through grocery. We worked alongside of him as kids, and there's still some team members that started with him that are still with us. So our stores range from 4,500 square feet to 2,500 square feet. 25,000 square feet. Sorry, I misspoke there. And a variety of neighborhoods, from upscale neighborhoods, suburban areas to urban areas.
Amazing story. Thanks for sharing that. What at Estevez, what drove you to look at AP automation? What were the needs that had you take a look at that product and us as a whole?
Well, before we had Ottimate, we were doing a lot of processes manually. All the data entry of all the invoices were a manual entry. And we tried a different competitor, but that didn't work out well. It worked for a time, but they were not able to automate as all the invoice information. So it was just time consuming and frustrating to manually be entering all these invoices.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things we certainly embrace is the complexity in grocery. Ottimate's built to dive into line level detail. At a grocer, you may have one invoice that's inventory that you're selling to customers, and the next may be, capital maintenance on your refrigerators, and the next may be having, your parking lots cleared of snow, just straight OpEx, and they're very detailed, very complex invoices. So we can understand that. What is it? Can you walk us through what it looks like now from, the moment you get an invoice to when it gets paid? What does it look like after your transformation with Ottimate?
So the way after the invoices are checked in and handed into the office bookkeepers, they are scanned. They're scanned. They get uploaded to the cloud, to box.com by location. Then I have a Zapier that monitors each folder and pushes those invoices to Ottimate. Vendors like KeHE, they directly email into Ottimate, which saves even more time. And we're working with CNS to do the same. So it's a pretty automated process that I have, kind of unique for us.
Yeah, that's great. So your volume, if I remember right, it's about 7,000 invoices a month, which is obviously a lot. How has automation kind of changed what that looked like, before and after now? I can imagine that burning out your teams and just being overwhelming in a way before, but what does that volume look like today, and how much of that do you see in exceptions? Just kind of walk us through what that looks like.
Yeah, so it's about 7,000 invoices that we're processing a month between all locations. And obviously that was a manual process that we had. Now with Ottimate, and I try to keep things very simple. So I try to automate as much as possible with our invoices. So instead of manually touching 7,000 invoices, we're freeing our team to do more higher value work. So honestly, it's only a handful of invoices compared to the 7,000 that we have to actually touch.
Yeah, that's great. So are you using things like the predictive coding, where after a certain amount of time you're just you're letting Ottimate, trusting that to do the AI coding for you? Any of the features that kind of jump out to really taking away that touch, so you don't have to touch all 7,000 of those?
So that's one of the best features that we like, because before an invoice could be characterized in the wrong department, when now with a geo coding line by line, that basically does not happen anymore. So that if you got fresh pineapples, it's always going to be in produce or for us. So that takes away all that headache of double checking, triple checking that an invoice was coded to the wrong department. Or if there's an invoice that comes in with multiple departments, right? Maybe it's deli, bakery, or meat, for example, line by line, those are getting coded to the correct department. So there's no more having to manually calculate these things for one department or the other.
And remind me, did you say 10 locations? Is that you're coding invoices across 10 stores? Is that right?
Yeah, 10 locations.
Yeah, great. So what you mentioned on you've kind of taken that AP team and they're doing higher value tasks. What does that look like now? Is your AP department different in size, or are they just now more cost accountants or researchers? How's that kind of changed the back office for your business?
So before, we had 2 people dedicated to just entering these invoices, and those folks were outsourced, but they were spending about 20, 25 hours each on manually entering these invoices. Because it was a manual process, we couldn't get down to the line by line detail. Now we can. So those folks are no longer, we're no longer using them. And the people that we do have still on staff, they're more focused on, accuracy, reporting, and helping the stores provide better service.
Awesome. So this is one of my favorite questions, because I didn't mention to the audience at the top, but prior to building software for AP automation, I was also a customer, not in the grocery space, but in the retail space for sure. So I've been through this myself, but I love this question. What did that change management look like? Because inside your business, you've probably done that old manual process for a long time, and people are kind of used to, this is the way we've always done that. So what did the change management look like for you when you roll this out and you say, hey, we're live and this whole new process is here? How long did that take? What did that look like for you?
That's actually a fun story. It was fairly easy. We had already tried a different competitor, like I mentioned. Everybody was frustrated with it, so they didn't have a lot of confidence in you guys and Ottimate and my ability to make the right decision going to you folks. But once they got into it, I said, well, we're going to try this because the other guys are not working. Let's try this. Give me another shot. They gave me another shot. And basically, since I didn't have time to train everyone individually, I took the time to record myself going through the process, processing invoices one by one, answering questions, and then I would distribute that to the team. And now today, they even asked me for Loom videos. The service that we're using for recording is Loom. They even asked me to record Loom videos for other stuff, other things that we're doing in store. So it was a very easy process, because they could rewind, fast forward, watch again, and anybody could do it, on their phone, on a tablet, in the office, at home, wherever they wanted to.
Yeah, that's great, and I can certainly empathize, Robin. As I mentioned, I was a customer of these types of products. It was before Ottimate, but that change management is critical. And if you're the business leader that's driving it, it's AP becomes muscle memory to an extent. And even though the end result is obviously better, you're processing these 7,000 invoices almost fully in a fully automated fashion. It is a big change to go through that, that change management exercise, understand different process. So I always advise our customers, like you have to be prepared for that. The ultimate end technology is better, but it is a big change for sure. So thanks for walking us through that. You said, accuracy's big for you. How has, you mentioned, wrong departments, wrong categories, how has that helped your inventory be more accurate, or costing, really from you managing the business, at the top level? How has that impacted just the, the accuracy and the reliability of your accounting and your data?
Well, for example, you could have someone have a fat finger error where they would enter an invoice for $1,000, throws off your GP, and when the invoice was only supposed to be $100 or $10, right? And so right there, it eliminated all the back and forth of investigating where, going to a folder or cabinet, what is this invoice? Why was these purchases so high or so low, what have you? Everything is digital, so you can search and find things very quickly, very quickly.
Yeah, that's awesome. Are you using Ottimate's new, cost analysis dashboard? Sorry, I haven't asked you that, so we can just bring that one on you. But are you using that to look at it? Okay.
No, I'm not. I'm not using that yet. But hey, have somebody reach out to me so I can learn what it is about.
We got to get it. We got to get you on it. We'll spin it up for you, Robin, for sure. So it's something we've emphasized for sure. As I mentioned, kind of at the top, the automation becomes the base layer, and I think as a customer, you're a great example of that. You can kind of then have the attention to put on costing and classification, and are we buying as efficiently as we could be? Are there price advantages that we could? So Ottimate's bringing some pretty exciting stuff in benchmarking, comparing prices in your region, those kinds of things that I think are going to really help our grocers and all of our customers really look at how they're buying and spend a little more time on it, because it's very important for your margins, obviously. So we're excited to work with you on that. I'll make sure you have access, Robin.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's part of my wish list that we could have. That's true insight, where we would be able to know. I don't know if we're just spitballing here, but if an item went up 5%, you guys could give me an alert, and I can check on that item or see which vendor has the best pricing of this item. Yeah. That's huge.
We'd love to show you that, and for the audience, that's one of the reasons we like working with Robin, because we bounce those new ideas off our grocers and our customers and get it in front of them so they can try it out. We're working on, Robin, something I'll show it to you later, probably end of August, something like that. Our first version of our copilot, where you can literally, in a conversational fashion, ask those questions. How much did I pay at location 5 for bananas, and get a quick response. We're going to be bringing some, from June to July. Hey, Ottimate, hey, Audibot, can you generate, a flux statement of my inventory costs between the 2 months, and it'll give you a nice narrative, generated summary flux analysis of those costs. So we'll make sure you see them first, Robin, for sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good segue to my next question. You've mentioned that reporting was kind of a game changer. What visibility have we brought you that you didn't have before, and how have you, used our reporting to?
Where my reporting has gotten better is that I can trust the data today a lot faster, because there's less errors, and since it's being GL coded line by line, we can catch discrepancies quickly. So it's no more my team or myself going back 3 and 4 times, double checking, triple checking, quadruple checking these invoices. I'm still hoping that you guys would get us that reporting tool a little bit better, but it is what it is. I know you guys are working towards it.
No, fair enough, Robin. I mean, we appreciate always the feedback. I do think when you see the cost analysis dashboard, that'll be a big step toward it. And then I would say too, one of the things that we're very vested in at Ottimate is that data is your data. Your invoice flow is your data. So we're also adding, an API approach. We understand that, we run the AP through, but you may have other systems that feed your costs. You may get some rebates or something that you want to cost. So what we're going to do is not only provide the reporting of what, is in Ottimate today, but, open that data up. So maybe you're merging that into a data warehouse and you do have your rebates or, something that you're getting on the back end. So you can kind of cost that all together in your own way. So definitely want to upgrade that and bring that to you in a way that makes this impactful to your business.
I could see that. I'm sorry to jump in here.
No, go ahead.
But I could see that working well. Since you already have what I purchased and what I purchased, where I got it from, and from whom, I think marrying that data, the Ottimate data of my costs, with my POS file, price file, marrying those two together, would be a game changer, because now we have the full spectrum and knowing where our GPs and our costs are going and how are we trending. So then we would be able to act a lot quicker, and our teams, they would be able to be better informed of saying, hey, this other guy has a better price on the strawberries. We could save $3 a case today rather than paying the higher price.
Yeah, it makes sense, Robin. And that's where we're certainly, we want to expose what we want to be is your AI engine that understands those costs. And since we are carrying that data into your company through AP automation, we're very focused on anomaly detection. So to your point, I expect, I use bananas a lot as my example. I expect bananas to be this and this and this because we know all that data. Hey, wait, Ottimate just got an invoice where it's way out of the norm, or they've trended up really, really significantly this month. What's triggering that? Or, hey, look, I get bananas from 3 providers and one of them trended up, but the other 2 didn't. That's an alert we can bring you, something, we can detect those anomalies and bring them to you. Even if we don't hold all your data, like you said, you're merging that with POS or other back office systems. We want to be able to provide that data to you and make it active, and very in the moment. So if we catch that at the beginning, we're alerting somebody of that. We're bringing that to your attention.
Yeah, think about how useful that would be with the egg prices a little while ago when egg prices went through the roof. If you didn't catch it on time, it's going to eat into your GP.
Yep, sure.
Your profitability.
Yeah, thanks. So switching, just to kind of, best practice in your experience, if there was a grocer thinking about, they're still doing this manually, they still get these piles of invoices, they have people sitting there keying them and doing their best to cost everything, and they're thinking about, applying some automation. What advice would you give them based on your experience through this? And that can be all things, product, but preparing for it, the project, any kinds of thoughts you have that you would give advice to somebody thinking about this?
Well, if anybody's on this call, that means that they're already curious, right? And
that's true.
I was drowning in invoices too. So was my team, and managing stores, customer service, stocking shelves, processing these invoices. We tried everything from different systems, different competitors of yours, consultants, but what changed was looking for the automation piece. We're using bots, we're using Zapier, we're using Ottimate. All this eliminates a lot of the manual process and uploads these invoices for faster processing. So if you're already using a GPS or Apple Pay or QR codes to order your food, then you're ready for automation. So, you got to try it. You got to stick with it. It's going to be hard in the beginning, but I'm telling you, your team will thank you. And your team will thank you, for real.
Yeah, thanks for that, Robin. I agree too. Having been through it in a different industry, you're right. It's tough. It's a big change, but when you get through it, it's absolutely worth it. Kind of follow-up question to that. The tech's one thing, but what would you say the business needs to do just to get ready for it? Kind of the ops and the OpEx and the change, not OpEx, the ops and the change management that you have to have in front of that.
I think a good thing to do is to really sit down and do some thinking time. What is it that you want to see, and envision yourself in that new process and how you would do it. You know, we as independent grocers, I'm an independent grocer, we don't have a lot of the bells and whistles for the back office to support us and that support. So it's up to us to make things happen. And we just have to be curious enough and willing to learn to try things out, right? So just try them out, see what happens. Take a timer, see how long your folks are taking to manually process these invoices. They might be telling you, they might be not, or checking each individual invoice to see if you got the right cost, see if it totals correctly. We've known little games where people play where manipulation happens at the invoice level. To see how much time they take filing that invoice, right? Filing it, then taking it out to pay it, then filing it again to a paid, you know, in a paid box or something, then storing it. All these are little friction points that you're so used to doing it, you think it's just normal. But once you free that time up, you can really start getting into things that really move the needle, better, or how do we say, make the boat move faster. And that's, as independents, that's what we really need, because these big boys, they already have this stuff.
Yeah, makes sense. What's next? Are there workflows you still want to improve or automate further, anything like that?
Well, yeah, I would love. Well, we just spoke about it earlier. The copilot with the buying, that would be amazing. What also would be great if I could just, although it's simple and easy to use, there is a cost to it. Zapier, it's a very good service. But if you guys had a integration with Google Drive or Box or Dropbox, where these invoices can be put into the cloud, grabbed and pushed to Ottimate automatically, that's one service we wouldn't have to pay for. And the key there is that because the human is not involved in pushing the invoices to Ottimate, those invoices, one, they get automatically uploaded, and there's no more drag and drop. So when we were dragging and dropping invoices from that folder, people would forget to highlight all the invoices. So you'd have missing invoices, or they'd have duplicates. With this automation, it eliminates it. But help me save a couple of more dollars and give me an integration with the cloud services, with Google Drive that a lot of people use.
Sure, makes sense. Yeah, and I think there's probably even some things we've brought even since your rollout that we should make you aware of in terms of mass capture. One of the things that I think will be impactful for you and customers like you is a vendor portal that we're going to bring, where it's not even an external drive that's necessary. Vendors just tell them what web place to drop it, and they can drop it directly into your Ottimate solution. So that's coming a little later this year. So you mentioned that, capture, reporting, anything else you'd like to see? I know we've talked before on kind of product roadmap, and we hope we share enough of that to keep you advised on where we're headed. But anything else for us that you're looking for from Ottimate?
Yeah, I think a good one would also be if I uploaded my vendor promotions and my price books. For example, with produce, it would help me. Well, I think we did already talk about this. Help me choose which is the best vendor to maximize the profit at store level.
Sure.
So that would be the AI buyer, and alerting me of those price increases that you mentioned. All those things would be great.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, Robin, that's the interview part of what we had planned today. I do want to. It looks like we have a handful of questions that have come in from the audience. So while Bill is queuing those up, I wanted to just drop a couple takeaway resources for the audience. You can read Robin's customer story here. How Estevez Markets cut their AP time by 80% with Ottimate. It's a great case study, walks through a little more detail what Robin and I have talked about here today, and it provides some details about the products that we have in place today and those that are coming as well. And if anybody has any questions about what Ottimate's bringing in the near term and in our roadmap, we're certainly happy to have those conversations as well. We're scheduling a roadmap conversation that will be available to our customers and prospects. I'm not sure the date, I think the mid-end of August, so you're welcome to join that as well. I wanted to give a shout out. Robin was talking about this on our pregame before we started the webinar. You should definitely check out Robin's book, Lessons from Behind the Counter. It's the story of, you know, his family and how Robin and his brothers worked for their dad, and you can see the pictures of some of the early stores there. I just got my copy from Amazon. I haven't started it yet, but I'm excited to read it. Really interesting story about how that the industry's just evolved and technology and all parts of it. So excited to read that and certainly check it out. You can get it from the QR code there. And then lastly, we have, you know, if you want to grab this QR code, Ottimate's Guide to AP Automation for Grocery. This is, you know, at a broad base, how all of these value props that we bring at Ottimate, our AI, our automation, our workflows, our intelligent recognition, document capture, combine together to bring a really world-class solution to automate for grocery. You'll hear things about our cost file validation so that we can look directly at your individual vendor cost files, compare the prices that are coming through, and really maximize that profit through the automation and through the workflow process. All right, so I'll turn it over to Bill, and we can see what the audience has for questions.
All right, thanks, Don, and thank you for a great presentation. We have received a few questions already, but we'll give the rest of you a moment to enter your questions in the Q&A box to the left of the slides. So let's take a look at these questions and fire away here. So question number one, how did your team react to the new system? Any advice for gaining buy-in from staff who are accustomed to working manually?
Yeah, like I said, we already were on a different platform that didn't work out so great. I brought Ottimate to them, and they were very hesitant. So I got a lot of pushback because they're like, "Well, we already on this other program, and it doesn't work well. How is it going to work even better with these folks?" I built confidence with them, did it slowly. In the beginning, I did a lot of the work to show them how it was done and showing them how easier and faster things could be done and what an improvement it was from the other guys. But it was a challenge, and I think being upfront is the key here, having a conversation.
All right, second question is, what kind of visibility does Ottimate give grocers into spend across locations or vendors?
I think that might be for Don.
Yes.
Yeah, I can take that. I mentioned our cost dashboard, which is really, you know, an active look at your active invoice flow, inventory accounts, expense accounts, and you can slice and dice that really in any way that you like. The other thing that's really important is our cost file item validation. So we're not only just, you know, checking that price against, you know, the history of that item and the trends in that item, but we're looking at either purchase orders or your just direct electronic catalog from your vendors to determine, hey, what's the price you've agreed to, and are they billing you at that price? So you know, again, as the invoice is processed, is this actually the right price? And then you can create workflows from that too. If you want to short pay that invoice, if you want to just, you know, issue a credit memo to gain that, you know, that price discrepancy back. I think that's the key that I would emphasize, is that focus on your negotiated price and your active price and your invoicing. And that we know that changes very rapidly. You have promotional pricing. So as long as that catalog is something we can access and pull in, you know, via API or on a regular basis from a file, then we're always matching that against your cost file. And in the future too, we're looking at not just the costs themselves, but the contracts. So we can bring in we will be able to bring in the contract and say, hey, maybe that SLA is a 2-day delivery and the vendor's delivering it 3 days. So you're supposed to get a rebate. We can find those additional items that will find those cost discrepancies and drive, essentially, as Robin pointed out, margin within your business.
All right, our next question, I believe, is more geared towards Robin. For grocers that are hesitant to automate, where do you recommend they start?
I think that grocers are thinking that they are not already automating. If you run your payroll with a payroll service, that's essentially some sort of automation that's happening there with your payroll taxes and paying your workers' comp and disability. So there's already a level of understanding what it is. I think that the processing of the invoices is one of the a low-hanging fruit that would help be the one that helps the team and the store move more efficiently, better, make the boat go faster, as I would say.
Don, did you have anything to add to that?
Robin really said it. He said it earlier in the presentation too. Think about just take a real look at the time spent. I know, back in my customer days, chasing approvals at the end of a quarter sometimes could be, just more than you think it is, because someone gets it done, someone makes it happen. The idea that you miss. We had a lot of CapEx purchases, and if you just miss those, if you're not getting stuff capitalized, you're remodeling your refrigerators, you're investing in your store in some way, and that gets expensed. That's a big part of your overall financials. So, just Robin said it, take a hard look, follow an invoice through, and see what the actual touches that go into it, the keystrokes, the muscle memory that happens in that, and then it usually will push you over the hump. Like, yeah, there's a better way to do this. Get it digitized, get AI looking at it, and help it move it along in that process. And yeah, usually get somebody over the hump for sure.
The next question is for Robin. What is the high value of work the team is able to do with the time that they get back?
A lot of it is customer service, being on the floor instead of a back office entering numbers, right, or invoices. So I think the highest value that we can provide to our neighbors is being on the selling floor, helping folks out, right? Whether that's stocking shelves, attending to a customer complaint, or helping them find an item. To me, that is much more higher value than sitting at a desk processing invoices. There's no value there, to me personally. Others may see it different, but I think taking care of our shoppers, our neighbors that are coming in there, and helping them find everything, keep the stores well stocked and clean, that is the best thing that you can do.
And our next question is, are you using Ottimate to check prices, reconcile invoices to customer statements?
I am not using, I think that's part of the payment portal. Some hesitation that we have, I don't have it, but that some of the other folks on my team in the AP department have, is fully going on the automated part of VendorPay with Ottimate. They're still used to doing the old process of writing a check. Even though we pay a lot of our vendors through ACH or wire, they still have some hesitation of clicking on the invoices and doing the payment through Ottimate. So I still have some hesitation there. I know what the capabilities are with VendorPay. This is one of those things where I'm going to have to push it through. And I'm hoping to do that sooner rather than later.
We'll do all we can to help you, Robin.
Next question is for Don. Does Ottimate specialize in certain industries?
Yeah, we certainly focus on certain industries. We have, our roots were in hospitality, in the restaurant and hotel space, and that took us very quickly to, food supply adjacent industries, which is how we obviously landed in grocery. So we still have a very strong focus in hospitality, so restaurants and hotels, but other things like golf clubs and even a few casinos in that space. But again, most of those have some sort of food service within them. Then the grocery adjacency, we're extremely vested in our grocery customers, and that has taken us to, a broader retail. We do have, other types of retail customers that are, adjacent to grocery. So we have a focus on that. And then we also have a healthcare focus, and that may seem like it's a little further away, but if you think about the hospitality scenario, what healthcare really means to us is senior living, long-term care, dental offices, those things that have a hospitality-like presence. But really what I like to say is that we're focused on customers that have, a complex supply chain and a fast-paced supply chain, lots of perishables, lots of predicting, what goods they'll need, and a lot of complexity in the invoices that they have. So definitely have a focus in those industries.
All right, we have another Don question. There are many different companies using AI. What makes Ottimate stand out from the rest?
Yeah, a couple things. First of all, this kind of is similar to the last question. We embrace the complexity. The line level detail that we have is something we pride ourselves on and that we invest more and more in. There are a lot of automation companies who do what I call bills. In fact, there's some that use the word bill in their name. But a bill to me is, your simple header one-line invoice. I want to get this, I want to know the amount, and I want to know who to pay. And those are fine. Those are use cases that we all have. But Ottimate's depth in our AI really comes at that line level complexity. So we've got customers that have 30-page, 1,000-line invoices, and we can extract that at scale. We can manage that at scale. We can reconcile that, and we invest in that complexity. We want our AI to work well there. We actually benchmark. I'm happy to share, if we can, the slide that shows it well. We benchmark our AI against Gemini, against ChatGPT, against Claude, and for invoice line level extraction, we exceed their capabilities because we are so specialized in what we do in that space. So that combined with, I mentioned this anomaly detection and prediction. Our GL coding prediction model is among the best. If your users code things a few times, we're already starting to learn. You only have to touch an invoice a few times before we learn all the characteristics that make that predictable. But then at the same time, we have kind of the safety net so that if something varies, if something is an anomaly, we're able to bring that human back in the loop and say, normally this would code here, but this is what's different about this invoice and why you should have someone take a look at it. So those two things are really why we're different at Ottimate. We're taking a different approach than some of our competitors. It's not just about getting the check out the door. It's about getting your inventory correct, understanding that this is a fixed asset flow, that this is, a key vendor that you have to pay in a day or something, or you may be a breach of contract or something. That's really important to us, that supply chain aspect, and where we have our AI focused.